Ocean Crew, welcome to my channel. I'm Karen and I'm from Ocean Chicks Films. Tonight on a brand new episode of Final Girls of Horror, we are taking a look at the 1990 horror thriller Misery. Misery from 1990. Paul Sheldon, a novelist, is in a car crash during a snowstorm and rescued by a former nurse and his biggest fan, Annie Wilkes. She cares for him at her remote cabin where her obsession with him turns dark. Directed by Rob Reiner and adapted from Stephen King's book, starring James Caan and Cathy Bates. This film was adapted from a Stephen King novel, and Stephen ranked it one of his top 5 favorite stories, and gotta agree. I think most people agree, actually. It's such a good film. And Cathy Bates and James Caan did such incredible jobs in this film that Cathy actually won an Oscar for Best Actress. I think the sledgehammer scene is one of the best scenes I have ever seen in a horror thriller in my life. So the role of Paul, played by James Caan, he did an amazing job, by the way, but it was offered to a lot of really big name actors who all turned it down because to them it was a really difficult role. I mean, James had to be stuck in a bed and a wheelchair for 15 weeks acting and being very reactionary, right? Being able to pull that off, but he did such a great job. I really can't picture anybody else in that role. He also does such an incredible job flipping it at the end, and that's all I'm going to say because I don't know, maybe some of you haven't seen it yet. Probably you all have, but maybe some of you haven't, and I don't want to spoil it for you. Another cool thing I like about this film is that it's kind of timeless. You can watch it now and you're not sort of stuck in a time period. It just feels like it's really current. And the character Annie, played by Cathy Bates, who does an amazing job. She is this sweet, meek, caring woman, kind of like living all by herself, and she won't swear. She uses alternate versions of words for swears, which is really cute, but she quickly flips into this psychotic, crazed maniac kind of person, and that leads for a lot of tension in the film, and it's just, she does such a good job. Annie is completely obsessed with Paul. She's like his biggest fan. So when he comes to her doorstep, you know, it's kind of like, wow, this is incredible. And she wants to take care of him and help him to write his book. And the book he's working on is has a character called Misery, and eventually he gets to the point where Misery dies and she just loses it. I mean, she's named her pig Misery after the character in the book. She's so obsessed that she can't bear it that this character dies off. So she becomes very angry and wants to keep him there and force him to change the story so that Misery doesn't die, and it gets very twisted and crazy, and it's really tense, but it's such a good watch. And from Paul's perspective, he looks at Annie as being this kind, caring person, but she's a little obsessed with him, and it's a little uncomfortable, but he's not really quite sure. He thinks it's fine, and then, you know, she flies into these rages. She goes into these catatonic states, and he starts to quickly realize that this is whacked. There's something wrong here. I need to get out of here. Rob Reiner directed this film, and for inspiration he actually watched and studied Hitchcock movies to get ready to do this film, and really effective. It's such a great film. It was filmed in Nevada, and apparently a lot of the set, the cafe, the gas station, that kind of thing were all built by the crew, so that's kind of neat. Cathy, in order to get into character, was given a backstory about Annie. So what she was told was that Annie's father molested her and that Annie was a nurse who had a bunch of suspicious deaths surrounding her of babies and the elderly, but she was never convicted of these deaths. So, but kind of implied that she is a serial killer and that she murdered a lot of people up to this point. Apparently, James Caan and Cathy Bates clashed a lot with their methods for acting, and so Rob Reiner told Cathy to take that frustration and put it into the role, so it makes it really effective. I think they were incredible together. I think they had great chemistry. It was so good. I remember back in the day watching it when it came out. It was just one of those blow you away kind of movies that you were not expecting. And even to today, I watched it just the other day, and I enjoyed it equally as much. Now let's talk a little bit about the book. So the book Misery, written by Stephen King, love Stephen King. Pretty sure I'm not alone in that. It was written in 1987, and this film is pretty close to the book, but there are a few differences. So the two main characters are the same. Paul Sheldon, who is a romance novelist, and Annie Wilkes, who is the deranged fan. He's in a car accident in the winter. She rescues him, takes him in, cares for his wounds, feeds him, gets him hooked on pain meds, and then deprives him of food and medication to control him. So he's kind of forced to be a prisoner and to go along with her every whim. The novel won awards and it was on the bestsellers list as well. It did really well for him. And of course it was made into a film and then later into a theatrical production starring Laurie Metcalf and Bruce Willis in 2015. So the book that Paul was writing was called Misery's Child, and in that book he kills off Misery, and that's when Annie loses it, of course, and she forces him to write a second book called Misery's Return. And in this book, he's not allowed to kill anybody off or have any swear words at all. One of the biggest differences from the book to the film is that in the book, when Annie kind of freaks out, and remember I said the sledgehammer scene? Well, in the book, she uses an axe and cuts off one of his feet. Horrible. And the reason they use a sledgehammer in the movie is because they felt that the axe thing would be a little bit too much for people to take, so they opted out. I think the sledgehammer was still just as horrifying. And in the book, in the end, Paul ends up getting his book on the bestsellers list because of the horrible tragedy that he went through. All right, and I'm going to do my review now, and obviously I'm going to give it 5 shark bites out of 5 because it's excellent. You know, how can you not like it? It's a good movie. All right, and as per usual, in the description box below, I have the Final Girls of Horror all linked. You can go check out their reviews. Katie, Jen, Ashlee, and Breanna. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up because it helps me a lot, and subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews like this with the Final Girls of Horror and some countdowns and my interviews that I've started doing. I just want to say thank you guys so much for stopping by. I love you all. Take care, and we'll see you again next time. Bye guys.